Guys, did you know that you can apply at Home Affairs to have your name that you do not like removed?
I had no idea.
So if you're Muslim, I can wake up one day and you have a name that you do not like.
The only reason I became Chief is because they're trying to make it easy for the white men to call me. Yeah, that's what.
So your original name is Mzwanele Manyi.
Yeah, those names were those are the names. I then decided that at this stage in my life, if I'm going to Mzwanele, then tough.
Tough luck.
How does it come about that you get to buy, you bought ANN7 now directly from the Guptas? How does that deal happen? Some said you had cash of 400 million. And then so much Manyi ithathe imali engaka athenge ngayo iTV Mhlekazi and all of that. Yeah, how to be and he does this branding, Afro World View and all those. How do you get to own a television? The entire media company, in fact.
Yes. Yeah, you must. I'm going to answer this. You must broadcast this on Twitter. I have a lot of that asking.
No, we'll give you the link. We'll take it there, Sam.
You still can answer it.
Yeah, he said, okay.
You still have not answered the question.
Yeah,
where did you get the 450 million?
Exactly.
Your complicated relationship, you left the ANC, you joined the ATM, but you still, you are also a spokesperson of the Jacob Zuma Foundation. How do you explain that?
Whose patron is a member of a political party and he goes out and campaign for that? That was my question.
That relationship, how do you explain that relationship?
It's very, very simple and straightforward. Firstly, the foundation is not a branch of the ANC. Greetings everyone, Mzwanele Manyi here. Look out for me at the Shared Podcast, and we're dealing with very interesting stuff there. So click on the button and please make sure you share. Thank you.
Potani, this is the Shared Podcast, yet another installment where we are giving you fascinating conversations, shedding light on issues affecting everybody.
All right.
And all right, man. Please remember to like, to share, and to subscribe. Very, very important to subscribe. Guys, did you know that you can apply at Home Affairs to have your name that you do not like removed?
I had no idea.
So if you're Wasana Prince Bekoton and you wake up one day and you have a name that you do not like.
That's groundbreaking, I must say.
Yeah.
I was not aware.
You are about to be schooled, Mhlekazi. Today we bring you a fascinating human being, a very colorful person, a person who has a thick skin, Mhlekazi. He's got a huge following on social media, a lot of which throw stones at him. They're there cutting at whatever he says, and they attack and attack. Because he has got 10 years experience. Plus, this is what does not usually come out.
Okay.
Has got 10 years experience in mining, exploration, geology. Fascinating stuff. He has got also experience in corporate as an executive. Not as a cleaner, not as a supervisor, as an executive. He is an ex-director, general official, you know about that. And he's an ex-media owner. He's known to have bought a media company for 400 million.
And this is the meeting. This is the meeting.
Exactly. He consults in policy and communication, stakeholder engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring to you Mzwanele Manyi.
I got 140 to remove that G. Good to do.
I'm all right, man.
Sure.
You spend a lot of time on Twitter telling people you are not Jimmy, you are Mzwanele. How does that come about?
No, actually, I think that consciousness was woken up by the young people in 2015 when they did this roads must. What was the thing? Roads must fall, which morphed into fees must fall.
Yes.
Yeah, so that just reminded me that, hey man, wait a minute, no roads. Then I remembered the colonial history and all of that. I then remembered that, by the way, the only reason I became Chief, my parents explained,
yes,
the only reason I became Chief is because they're trying to make it easy for the white men to call me. Yeah, that's what.
So your original name is Mzwanele Manyi.
Yeah, those names were those are the names. I then decided that at this stage in my life, if umlungu akakwazi ukuthi Mzwanele,
Tough luck.
yeah, so Mzwanele, and that's it. In fact, I felt so strongly because I actually think at another level, oh Jimmy, yeah, but it's a slave name. Yeah, actually it's a slave. I mean, these people, they give you the name that makes it easy for them to call.
What Jimmy come to Joburg?
Yeah, it's to enable them. So I had no business enabling them. So it's Mzwanele, and that's it. So I even went and removed it in my ID. So if you call it Jimmy, I don't even look.
So you went at Home Affairs, Mhlanga.
Yeah.
And you said, what is it something that had been done before you knew about, or you're just
No, I was determined to remove it from my ID. So I went there.
and said, I don't want to see
The interesting thing, I mean, I'm way over 50. I'm headed towards the 60s.
Yes.
These people in the Home Affairs, then they say to you, where is your parents' authority?
Exactly.
I've got grandchildren.
Yeah.
They want my parents' wait.
Just to remove your name.
Where's your ID of your mother? You talk to me about a mother.
Gee.
I'm fast approaching 60. Why asking me about my mother and all of that? But anyway, bulldozed my way up until I said, well, I can prove that. So I got that documentation right, and then the process went, and it took time. Mine took well over a year. Yeah, well over a year. Then they say, no, the record is not here, the record is there. And I was ready to go and get records because, even for my birth certificate, I knew that my birthday was wrong. I knew about my mother. They just estimated that somewhere, yeah, they were not sure when exactly. So I went to Bara to go
Get the records.
to get the record. But at least my parents were out by 2 days.
Okay.
Yeah, my actual birthday is 18 January.
Okay.
Yeah, but the one that is official is 20 January. Yeah, but then I went there. When I got there, they don't have it computerized at Bara. So then they sent me to a strong room because those clerks, they were not going to go and do it for me.
So you had to check it yourself.
I had to check it myself. I went behind, but I was determined.
Yes.
Wrote off the full day. So I went to the back at Bara, and then fortunately, but at least the filing is proper. So I went to the years. So went to my year of birth, and then I started in the beginning January. I sat down. But within 10-15 minutes, I hit it. Yeah, so I got it. I took a picture of it. That's my real band. It also corresponded with where we lived and everything, and my mother's name was there and all of that. So I know
Yes.
that my genuine date is 18 January.
Are you going to apply to Home Affairs to change it from 20 January?
No,
You let it slip that.
nah, that one is fine because no one goes around calling me with my ID. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's a non-issue.
Ngosana is panicking. Yeah.
No.
It tells me that. Far ahead. And I do this deliberate.
I know Mhlanga always wants to put the cart before the horse. So before we get ahead of ourselves, and I know Mhlanga is interested to get into the serious topics, serious questions.
The Guptas.
But before we can get there, we normally want to know just a little bit about our guests. Where were you born, and I think you already told us you're born in Bara, but are you from Soweto, and how was you growing up in your childhood? Were you a naughty child? Were you?
No, I'm a modern child. I'm what all parents want.
Okay.
A child that does not go away from a shop. A child not smoking, not drinking. All of these funny things that parents don't want. I'm really honestly, that's okay. I'm a child that each parent want to have. I don't go to parties and all of that. I go to my work, I study, I pass, and I pass very well. My matric, I got my matric with exemption. Yeah, so medicine science. Yeah, so yeah, I don't apologize for this. I'm a studious person. Yeah, when I get my mind into something, I focus. Yeah, I was born, if you go to Wikipedia, they say I'm this multi-millionaire. I don't know where they get this. Then they say I was born in Minnesota, in America somewhere. I don't know. I mean, even my accent, you can see there's not even 5% African. Yeah, I'm a typical So I tell me that. Yeah, Brown End of Fire, Zone 4, Middlelands, yeah, and all that. Even if you go there, you will find my neighbors, they can vouch for me. Yeah, so that's really me. Yeah, my parents, they come from the Eastern Cape. I was born, my mother is Sotho actually. Yeah, so I was birthed by a Sotho woman, Mamkwe.
Okay.
Yeah, Zona Mahate.
Oh, all right.
But her name is Rapoyas, there in Stexprit. My father obviously gave Manyi Mbaba, was along Manjo. Yeah, and all of that. So, yeah, that's me.
That's you in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's me.
The thick skin that you have now, is it something that growing up as a child you experienced? Did you grow up in a period where you had to stand up for yourself? How many are you at home? Do you have bigger brother, younger brother, sisters who sort of shielded you, or you have to stand on your own 2 feet from childhood?
I don't know. I think having grown in the apartheid era, you just have to have this
Toughness.
I think all of us that were born were around in the apartheid era. We have a level of thick skin better than you guys that are here today.
And I'm not
No, Tina, we've been toughened. I mean, at the age of 13, I was running a household. You know, at home, when there were riots in June 76 and all of that, my parents took me away. They took me to away as well as far as Tar in the Eastern Cape. So then they found a house somewhere. So I was living there in some courtyard of someone. Yeah, you know, Tala had the old homesteads of white people that were taken out by black people. So most houses they would have like a flatlet of sorts. So I was in some flatlet of that. So at the age of 13, I was running a household.
We were staying alone there.
I was staying alone.
Wow.
I was living there, and my parents would send 30 rand a month. I still remember that was a lot of money at the time. They would send the 30 rand, and I would see to it that I have groceries and this and that. Yeah.
And why would they send you to Eastern Cape? They were afraid that you might.
You see, not only the problem also in they were trying. My parents were not very political, so they said, "Hey, Nganam, abantu abafuna ufunda." Yeah, I'm Eastern Cape. Apho khona kuyakuza riots. Yeah, so I went there. That was the basis, and then I think I was there 1977. I started the Nkara village. Yeah, and there was a principal there with a very, very strict principal square. Yeah, very, 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 very strict disciplinarian. Yeah, and then the following year, I then left Kala, then I went to Esad. That's when I went Vavi. Yeah, Vavi, I know him as far back as then. Yeah, I don't just meet him here, Joe. Yeah, I also went to attend at the same church at the time. He's still in that church, the Bantu Church of Christ. So even there, in fact, I met him right there in the church. And then we're in the choir and all of that. So that's in that period. Then I studied Tala village. Then I studied or I schooled in Nompumelelo, Esata, and then from there went to the high school, Leakona, Mkhochana, and all of that. But I finished standard 8 there. At that time, there was a certificate, exit certificate, JC. So I do have a JC.
I've heard of JCs, eh?
Yeah, I've got a JC certificate. But then I went back to Soweto, things were a bit cool. But then, standard 9 and 10, I did this Japan Technical. Yeah. Back to Soweto, yeah. So I finished my schooling here in Soweto.
And your political career, when did it start? Were you involved?
Or consciousness?
Yeah, consciousness. Yeah. To say something is wrong about this country.
I think that element in my life was actually influenced by the Black Management Forum, not by any other organization. And the issue there was the issue of the underrepresentation of black managers elsewhere. You know, I remember this very well, that at one point as I was driving in the Paki there, I'd already finished geology. So I was driving there. Next thing I hear Norton Clove talking about managers and all of this, and that there's a paucity of managers at the top levels and all of that. So the situation I was describing was exactly my situation.
Okay.
I was working for Anglo American. That time I'm surrounded by all white geologists. I'm like the only one here. And the things that would happen there is that a white guy would come, would join the team, but 1, 2, 3, he gets a company car. He gets a buggy and all of that. And where now you have a buggy to work and which you must leave. But now they must take them home.
Over the weekends.
For transport, weekends, about the buggy and all of that. And then I said, but when am I going to get a buggy? Yeah, and then it went further. They also had a 626, a Mazda. So they would give them cars as well. And when is my turn?
So there was no equality in the world.
No, there was no equality. Then they said to me, no, you have to understand the body in 3 dimensions. So what do I do to do this? You must go underground. You must first have mining experience and all that. Then I said, fine.
And you're a qualified geologist at that time?
Yeah, I was qualified at that time. Yeah. So they said you must have the mining experience. Yeah. So I said, okay, I want mining experience. That's how I went to Velcom. Yeah. So then I went to Velcom and I spent 5 years at Present Brand Mine in Velcom. That's where my political life started in Velcom. So 1990, ANC gets unbanned and all of that. I think 1992, I was actually chairman of the ANC Youth League.
Okay.
Tabong branch.
Jeez.
That's when
In Velcom.
In Velcom, a guy that actually recruited me to the ANC, it's a guy called Paul Mashatz. He said, hey, join. Because I was just participating as part of the civic. The civic there was strong. There was a guy they called Maferika. He was very, very strong. Yeah, so I was part of just when they say community meeting, I would be part of that. And then these guys identified me somehow. So then I became part of the ANC Youth League. But I was also a deputy secretary of the branch of the ANC at the time, led by another guy. I think he passed on, Lupsin Dubuna. Anyway. So yeah, that's where
your political consciousness started.
I think BMF is a political consciousness, but it's focusing on the economic issues. We were called, Don Mkonas used to describe BMF members as corporate guerrillas. They are guerrillas, so we're corporate guerrillas. So while others were fighting it in the political space, we're fighting it in the economic space.
In the boardroom.
In the boardroom.
So to say, yeah.
So to say, yeah. This is why later on in life, it was a seamless thing for me to be the chairperson of the Commission for Employment Equity, all of that. Yeah.
How do you move from mining to corporate, the transition from underground, geology, to being an executive now?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So then what then happens is that now I'm a senior, I must give these guys credit because then I got my mining experience.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Then I was benefited you. Then, but by that time...
The buggy came,
Yeah, by that time they were no longer giving buggies now, they were giving car allowance.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay. So, you buy your own car.
You buy your own car, but they give you a car allowance, then they give you a house, if I was in the deep end, the deep end in the mine is something big.
Okay.
Yeah, so you get a house with this and that, which others don't have. All these amenities. Then you get the office of a particular size. Yeah, they are very strict with those things. So I got all of that. Then I spent now 5 years. Then I said, okay, now what's my next promotion now? I can't serve you.
You keep wanting more.
Yeah, I've been stuck on D1, D2. When do I get to D3, D4?
Okay, yeah.
And your fellow whites are up there. You want to
they keep knowing what. Yeah. Then they said, no, you see, for that to happen, you must run a project on your own. I said, okay, fine, give me a project. Then they said I must go to Mali. Yeah, I must go and run some drilling operation in Mali. And I'm not living South Africa. So if it means I must go to Mali, then that's
I can hear it.
No further. Then I called people at Toyota. Toyota was busy recruiting. So I called them. I said, listen, I don't have this commercial background, but I have networks.
Okay.
Yeah, the people you want to sell to, I relate to them.
Okay.
Yeah, so you want me there.
So people want a car allowance.
Yeah. Yeah, no, not only that, the market is So Toyota at the time was very African.
Okay, yes.
Oh, yes. They had no easy relationship with the ANC. So I said, no, I'm a member there, and I've got people, I've got network.
Yes.
And at that time, I think it was limited to the Ace of this world. That's why I met Ace as well in that space.
Oh, as an Ace Mahashul.
Voltage,
Yeah.
like all of them.
Wow.
Yeah, those were the REC of the. You see, Free State was divided into two at the time. There was a north and south. So we're part of the northern Free State, and all of that. So these were big people then, and all of that running that province. But then I knew them, but I also knew a few guys at National as well, because of BMF and all of that. So I was really well networked already, even at that point. So I said to them, guys, I can assist you. I know this market, I know these people, and all of that, and they took me. So I started off as a regional sales manager at Toyota, based in Woodmead, their head office. So, and my clients were government, and they gave me Eastern Cape. I was looking after the Eastern Cape and a couple other provinces and all of that, because they said, okay, you can speak closer, okay, fine. So
You prepare the data.
yeah, you look after those government people in the Eastern Cape, and it's fine. In fact, there's a lady there. I don't know if she's still around, Giose. She used to be my contact person. She was a director.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was calling Mrs. Giose, and she would make sure that I get all the contracts I need. Also at Northwest. That's when I met Supra.
Oh, okay.
Supra was working at Public Works. So he was the one that was my contact to buy buggies and this and that. He was at Public Works. That's why I met him. Yeah, so that's how I broke into the commercial space. So I worked my way up to become general manager at Toyota. Yeah, and then there is an interesting case now at Toyota. So at Toyota, an interesting issue there. You must stop me, guys, from us. No, but an interesting issue at Toyota is that even there, it's not like it was plain sailing. Yeah, but at some point, I become general manager. And then because now, in fact, I was the first black general manager in Toyota. So I get there as this black general manager. This is now around 1994 about. Yeah, so I become this first general manager there. And then they say, we are the Japanese company. Here we embrace open plans. Now, before I was general manager, I was an open plan. Now I was comfortable then because all others in my level were open plan. Now I make GM. All other GMs have got offices. I'm this GM without an office. Then I get
So you had to sit in an open plane.
Then I get told about Japanese culture. And I had been to Japan in Toyota as well. And I had seen this thing there. But here, the Woodmead Toyota head office did not have the Japanese thing as done in Japan. Here, we have all the GMs in the offices. It's just me without an office. Then I looked through the policy of the Toyota. What powers do I have as a GM and all of that? So they never anticipated the black guy was there. So that all the powers and everything. Now, Toyota is the world resource company. So I said, okay, fine, I've got this power and this power and this power and that power. I'm going to use it. Yeah, so I then called the property guys. I said to them, this weekend, Friday, you are going to cut me an office from here to there. And this and that. And I want to make sure that by Monday, it's all done. Okay. I don't run them to stop.
Yes.
So I said, start it on Friday. So I know what the power
Use your powers.
Yeah.
Yes.
This guy they have the material and all of this. They didn't sleep.
There's no procurement policy there.
Everything is there.
Okay.
Property division.
Oh, okay.
Something. And they knocked the office to shit. One day.
Just for one single black man.
Yeah. One day. Also at my office. Monday, I also had a PA where I had a PA sitting outside like all others. That was my office. And all of that, already ordered my round table and my normal table. The normal setup that everybody had.
Visitors chairs.
All of that, that whole shebang, count of that. Yeah, then I was a general manager.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and they couldn't do anything about it.
Because they knew you're empowered.
They knew that they have not broken any regulation, and this is why back then, when I was dressing young people, I would say to them, you must always make sure that you understand the policies of your organization, and make sure that what you do and what are your powers and everything. Yeah, so then I used that thing, and then I was a proper GM and everything. Toyota was quite good. Then you get 2 company cars. Get a Camry, you get a Toyota for your wife. Yeah, very good packs and all of that. But then going to 1998, I stayed there until 1998, and then Professor Wiseman Nkutlu calls me. He had started a bank. So I broke into the BE space in 1998. So Professor Nkutlu, because he knew me from the BMF, so he said I must come with him. I joined Professor Nkutlu. So he had a deal. He just brought us in there, and all of that. We're shareholders in that thing, and then we bought the Bank of Transkei, 34.9% of that bank from ABSA, and all that. Soon after that project, and with offices, we rebranded it to MIC Bank. Yeah, so we had our headquarters in Hyde Park, and all that. So this thing was moving nicely, and all of that. Just really, it was good business and all that. Up until President Mbeki took Professor Nkutlu to be his economic advisor. And then this thing now did not have a proper leadership.
Yeah, lost to him.
Prof was now that side.
Was holding it, yeah.
Was the one that had it together and all of that. And also when you needed money from ABSA, Prof knew how to talk to these people. And now next guys don't want to listen. Now they say, actually, then they decide to change an ABSA. Then they also have an ABSA strategy that says they want now this MIC Bank to focus only in the Eastern Cape. So it meant I have to go and live in East London.
Yes.
Yeah, so I said, I'm not going to go and live there. Nah, I'm a Joburg. I'm coming to Joburg. That's when I jumped ship. And then I went, called Lawton Clove at People's Bank. Unfortunately, at the time, they were also putting together a People's Bank something. So I applied there and got interviewed by a guy called Derek Mana there. He was one of the big shots of Nedco. Yeah, so we go there and I got the job there, and then I was People's Bank. Yeah, then that's how I graded into bank.
Yes.
Yeah, from People's Bank, I went to Barclays Bank PLC. So I think
you got a lot of experience in the bank.
In corporate.
Yeah. No.
I just want to pick on that to say, I mean, having a lot of experience, especially in private sector, from mining to Toyota to bank cars to bank, different banks. It's a lot of experience, and you at some point you did a switch to government. What was the decision? And how was different?
Yeah. Let's just finish the corporate. So I did banking. After that, then I went to ICT. I worked for IBM.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I worked for IBM, and then from there, at that time, I also took advantage of the fact that being a black executive, everybody wanted to tick their boxes. So not that they really wanted to, but the law forced them. So you had to go there. So you go there, and then you say, "Hey, you guys not paying me enough. Someone else can pay me." So I did that. Then I went to Tiger Brands. Yeah, I spent about just under 4 years again at Tiger Brands, FMCG. Yeah, and all of that. So as a group executive, corporate affairs. Yeah, so I did that as well. Now, basically, I had as much corporate experience that I could have. Then I thought, well, I think time has come that I must go and make a contribution in government in South Africa. Yeah. So my going into the government was really me trying to make a contribution. I'm not looking for a job. In fact, I took a salary cut to be a DG. Some people say you were parachuted. Oh, parachuted. It was a salary cut for me. I took a 40% salary cut But yeah,
What
because I was not going there to work. I was going there to make a contribution.
Yes.
I was very clear about what needs to happen on employment equity. By that time, I was also a chairperson of the Commission for Employment Equity. By that time, I was already a president of the Black Management Forum.
Oh.
Now, I knew that in South Africa, there is not one HR director that can run rings around me on employment equity. There's just no one that can do that. So therefore, I'm best placed to drive this thing. I can't have a meeting with you and you bullshit me. It's impossible.
Yes.
My experience is broad. My BMF experience is heavy.
Yeah.
My data from the commission is there. So how could you fool me in the space? So I'm best placed. In fact, then they advertised the job. I applied. I did not go there through deployment.
I was about to ask, it's not that Lutwe House said, you know what, that man is a bright face. Let's send him there.
I think they didn't object either. They could have objected, whatever. But if you were to say to me, I can tell you now, this is a public platform. There was nobody from Lutwe House that would have called me and encouraged me.
I said, hey, comrade.
To even apply. Yeah, no.
So you saw the advert on the newspaper?
I saw the advert and I applied. There would have been a targeted guy there. But I must say, even if I were to say so myself, my credentials were just too strong.
So that targeted guy was going to lose.
I was going to have. Because he was not going to have Department of Labor at the time just required somebody with that kind of background. I was the best person for the job. So that's how I actually
Got the job, yeah.
broke into government and all of that, yeah.
You have mentioned ANC a number of times. Each time it pops up, and clearly ANC was a big part of your life. You spent about 30 years there.
Yeah.
And in 2019, in January, you made headlines for leaving the ANC in favor of the ATM in which you currently serve. And I want to know, why did you leave the ANC?
Yeah. Trust me, it was not an easy decision. I had invested a lot of time in the ANC, not only just personally, also organizational. In the BMF, we had a very good understanding with the ANC. So we make submissions and all of that. So we've contributed into the policy framework of the country through the ANC and all of that. Yeah. So that's the first thing. Then, obviously, there was not as much progress as we thought we would have. So then a decision gets taken that, let's do a step change. Let's have radical economic transformation. And by that was meant that let be a step change. Things must not be the same anymore. Yeah, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. We agree on this. I'm not going to go too much into detail. So we agree on the things that need to be done.
As the ANC?
As the ANC. So we go to a conference, 54th conference in Nasrec. I was there. Go to the 54th conference. I always generally in the commissions of the ANC. I'm either in the economic commission or the communication. So I shuttle between.
So in the economic transformation?
Yeah. So I shuttled between those two commissions. So
yeah. So you're there as a delegate?
Yeah, I was there. What was I not? You see, I was there. What was I there for? What was I? Not a voting delegate. Okay. Yeah, I was there as a non-voting delegate. Yeah, all of that. So I've always attended. I've never attended ever in my life as a voting delegate. So I've never voted.
So there's no person who's in power who has voted by yourself?
No.
Okay.
I would have voted in the branch.
Yes.
To say, let's mandate this branch candidate to vote for us there.
Yes, put Nyanis.
Yeah, I would have participated that way. But for me to be in the conference as a voting delegate, it never happened. Yeah, but I've always been in conferences in one shape, in one way or another, but as a non-voting. But as a non-voting delegate, you participate in the formulation, so you're free. Make all
the intellectual contribution.
Yeah, a lot of that. So the only thing you don't do is vote. Okay. But everything else, there's even closed session, you're part of the closed sessions and all of that. So I was a part of the mix in a big way. Yeah. So So we make all these decisions and all of this. Then that's 2017. And one of the key decisions that the ANC made in that conference was the issue of expropriation of land without compensation. There were two options there. There was one that said with compensation and all other things and all of that. That was option 2. But there was option 1, which was more radical. So we opted for that as the conference.
No options.
Option 1, which was expropriation without compensation. Tick a box. Come 2018.
So this now was the resolution of the conference.
Yeah, that's the resolution of the conference.
Yeah.
Right. And before the resolution of the conference, when the EFF raised expropriation without compensation in Parliament, ANC did not support. The reason they didn't support is because it was not an ANC position
At the time.
At the time. Yeah. But now the 2017, now the ANC has a position. Then we'll talk to it now. Then we come to 2018. So 2018, we then say, okay, right, so let's get on with the work. It took the EFF in Parliament to raise the motion of expropriation without compensation to the EFF. ANC, out of being ashamed, they tweaked that motion. You know, the late Jackson Mthembu, his soul rest in peace, was the chief whip.
Yeah.
So he is the one that pronounced on the amended motion. They put wheels and bells and all of that. And we must give it to the EFF that they did not become too petty. They said, okay. As long as the main thing is still there, the wheels and bells, we can live. No problem. So this thing gets done, is voted for and everything. This is now February 2018. Now you would think that from now on, we now have, between EFF and the ANC, got 2/3. So this thing should have been done and dusted in 2018. Now, then, before we knew, then the Constitutional Review Committee, led by Professor Mutsa. Yeah, then they go out now on a roadshow to go and consult the
Public consultation.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that. Maybe it's right, fine. Because I thought, because before we went to the conference in December, we had a policy conference in June. Before you have a policy conference, branches of the ANC would have consulted publicly for the things that they bring into the policy conference. So you would think that part, the box is ticked. Yeah, no, they wanted to do it, fine. Then they went out. But they took 10 months in that process.
They do this as parliament.
It's parliament now. They come back with the resounding mandate. Not from the ANC, now from the people in South Africa, of expropriation without compensation. Now we've got the resounding
So people want land to be expropriated
without compensation.
Yeah,
now this is the position. Now, then the process to amend the constitution starts with the bill. So you do a bill to amend the constitution. Guess what the comrades do? Instead of executing their mandate as they received, not only from the conference, but also from the people of South Africa, then the ANC, undermines that. They come up with some funny thing called expropriation with nil compensation. Now, at face value, you think it's semantics, no compensation and nil is the same. Yeah, fundamentally different. When you say expropriation without compensation, it means from day one, everything got to do with the compensation, you draw a red line. It's not applicable. When you say expropriation with nil compensation, it means there will be where there will be something not nil. There will be something that is nil. The principle to compensate is embedded. This is what now the ANC brought expropriation with nil compensation, and then they say if there is a dispute on the compensation, then you must go to court.
Court must declare.
Yeah, court will resolve that and all of that nonsense. Something that could have been clear with a 2/3 majority, that no compensation, tick a box. They want to postpone the problem to the court. The court must then make a call to say, does this land tick the box in terms of nil or not nil and all of that.
And it's expensive to go to court. It's money. You don't just rock up in court. It's
Yeah.
like, the Munyani is
We're going to spend another 100 years in court arguing about this thing, which could have been resolved. And to cut the long story short, when it went to Parliament, who was going to vote? That was a selling out position. So ATM was not going to vote for that. EFF was not going to vote for that, and all of that. So that's how that thing failed. It's because the ANC undermined the mandate. They went and they changed the mandate, and they did their own thing, and that thing was not successful. So we are where we are here today, really, because of the failure of that. But that's not the only thing. That's just the one thing.
One part, yeah.
Then this is now 2018. Apart, and I'm still answering your question, why did
the answer is yes.
Now, one of the things that was then happening with the new administration had a lot of NH to remove Africans. Yeah. Then they went for Tom Moyane. You know Tom Moyane? Tom Moyane is the first commissioner of SARS to hit R1 trillion in terms of tax collections. The first one. Nobody else, not even Praveen. Nobody did that. The first one to hit R1 trillion in tax collections is Tom Moyane. Then he gets lambasted that, he's messing up SARS. And because his biggest crime was to bust the rogue unit in SARS.
In SARS, yes.
Yeah, he busted the rogue unit, and therefore he was now not person.
So there was a rogue unit.
Yeah, of course. No, there's no doubt. There's even, I don't know why people keep arguing about this, because there's even equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's spying equipment that SARS has. Now, the question is, if you have spying equipment,
What were you using it for?
what are you using it for? What legislation empowers you to do this, All of that. And we know that they had wanted a deal with the SSA, but something didn't happen, which was the right process. So that SSA can do, they are mandated to spy.
Exactly. That's official job.
Yeah, so they can do the SSA
On behalf of SARS.
on behalf of SARS and collaborate, but somehow, I don't know, that fell off. But then SARS said, okay, it fell off, we're going to continue anyway.
That's our quit.
This is why we called it the rogue, because it was not
Official.
it was not official. They were official, but it was not lawful.
Okay.
It was not lawful, but everybody knew about it and all of that. So that's one thing they did. And you go everywhere. All the black executives, African, let me be very clear, were being chased out everywhere.
So there was a purging
There was a serious purging
of African professionals.
of African.
Black in particular.
Now, my BMF blood did not allow that. Then I said, no, if this is, I can't be sitting here and be part of an organization that hates Africans and all of that. So I couldn't be part of that. So that's why I then decided, no, up to here, no further. I was not expelled in the ANC. I left the ANC.
You did not jump.
No, there was no disciplinary process or anything to push me on.
And it's not because you had a faction that lost in the conference in 2017.
In fact, this is why I have pictures with Ramaphosa.
Yes.
Because I was a disciplined ANC member. I then said the conference has decided. This is how the conference has decided. Let's move on. I had on that moving on phase. I took pictures with Ramaphosa and all of this. And
Cordial, even you.
yeah,
I was cordial.
I've known Ramaphosa before conference. I've known in the corporate space. So it's not like he was a stranger to me. Yeah. So I thought we were going to move on, but the winning faction became triumphalistic.
Triumphalistic.
Yes.
Triumphalistic.
Yeah. They did nothing to accommodate the others. And you don't do that if you've won by a hairline. They won with a hairline. And then they do this arrogant approach. You don't do that. You do that with 75%, you can do that.
You can be triumphalistic.
Yeah, you can 75%. If you don't listen, you can go. But now, at headline win, and then you behave this way. This is why the Unity Project in the ANC was never successful. It's because even some of us who were willing to cooperate were just not accommodated. We're just given a label, Clarity Force and all of that, Zuma, and
NTZ.
and I continue not to have a problem with the fact that I supported President Zuma. And the reason, again, because I was a disciplined ANC member. The first time President Zuma won in Polokwane, I was there. He won 60-40. Now that is a healthy margin. And then the next time he went to Mangaung against President Mutlani. And then there, the margin was even wider, 75-25. Now, therefore, if you don't support President Zuma in the ANC at the time, basically you are a faction. So me now, I was supporting a duly elected president. Do not apologize. So that was my position. Now, 2017 comes, I also support the next president. But then the people of the next president were just not...
Make it difficult for you.
Yeah, for everyone. For everyone, they purge people. And I was not even in the patronage network of the ANC and all of that. I was out there in business. I was busy with the ANN7 and all of that. But in fact, at that time, the business was bleeding. So I thought, well, comrades are going to make a plan when we pitch. They would out on merit, because there was serious merit in the ANN7. But there was like a fundamental decision taken that no, don't support this, don't support those. So you then have, I can tell you this for a fact, that the ANC would have supported the Guptas.
Yeah.
The ANC did not support Mzwanele Manyi. So this is, we can draw a line. There is no MEC, there is no minister, there is no DG that will say they did an advert in ANN7. No. Most of our revenue came from multi-choice and one or two private sector companies, all of that, but not government. Yeah, and all of that. So you would think that with a situation like that, it's an arm's length. I do business in private, they do their thing and all of that, but still it was a problem and all of that. And the bottom line is this thing went because we're now characterized as these people that were corrupt and all of this and all of that, and nobody wants to do business with you because we are associated with the Guptas, we are associated with Zuma and all of that.
So that on its own affected the business, the ANC7.
A Gupta stigma, is don't touch.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. It's just before the media ownership, and which you are now talking about as having bled as a result of association with the Guptas, Zuma, and all those things. How does it come about that you bought ANN7 now directly from the Guptas? How does that deal happen? Some said you had cash of 400 million. And then so much Manyi ithathe imali engaka athenge ngayo iTV Mhlekazi and all of that. How to be and Mhlekazi, and he does this branding, Afro World View and all those. How do you get to own a television, the entire media company? In fact,
yes, you must. I'm going to answer this. You must broadcast this on Twitter. I have a lot of...
No, we'll give you the link. You'll take it there, Sam.
You still can answer them.
Yeah, I can answer them.
You still have not answered the question.
Yes,
Where did you get the 450?
Exactly.
It's a very... In fact, this instrument, if it was not stigmatized, this instrument called vendor financing,
yes,
is the best instrument for being, if you like, because the person they're buying for, the vendor, the person you're buying from, basically in simple English, takes the view that he is happy to wait for you to pay for him at agreed terms and all of that. So there's a payment plan. There's a payment plan. So I agreed on yearly installments. So we'll pay at the end of the year. With the business and all of that. But then part of the arrangement, he then warrants the business. He then said, no, this business is going to go on and therefore there will be revenue. And this is, so they do an evaluation, and that evaluation will be based on all these forecasts and all of that. Then they come back, clever people, they put it together and they say, this is the number. It's backed up by this, it's backed up by that. We even took it to the Competitions Commission, they checked, everybody was happy.
So it's a forecast of how the business will run
Yeah,
and its revenue generation.
there's a model, there's different models. It was done using the PE one, and there's another valuation method. There's two valuation methods were used, and they all came to more or less the same number. So it was done properly and all that. So I sat there with a debt of 450 million on A1. So therefore I had to service that debt and all that. So
When in simple terms, it's a loan.
it's a loan.
Yeah.
It's a loan. It's not like I had 400. I was borrowed 450 million, but no cash left. The Guptas came to me, not 1 cent. It was an in-principle paper transaction that, okay, here are the assets, but then you will cede this thing to us up until you
Fully serviced.
fully service the debt.
Okay.
So that's the deal.
So you operated to liquidate the 450
That's it.
as a point of departure.
There's a board, yeah. Now, then that was 2017 September when we did the deal. It was an unsolicited bid. They didn't advertise. I knew that they were going down here. And my biggest problem there was really unemployment of people.
Yeah.
Those guys at that time, between the two TV station and this thing, there were about 500 people involved, employed.
Journalists,
Journalists, all of that, young
Cleaners.
security drivers, all of that. I said, hey man, these people are going to lose their jobs. And the main reason they are losing this is because this thing is Gupta tech. Let me buy it and all of that. So, excuse me, I went into that situation with the aim of saving those jobs. That was the main thing. So I approached the Guptas and said, hey guys, as you can see, there's no future for you here. Give me this thing to me. And you know that if I go and borrow money, no one's going to give me money to give to you. So the only way out is vendor financing. So I suggested this to them and they bought the thing. And they said, well, with what is happening now, if you take over, there's a chance that we can recoup our money. So therefore you go in. So that's how the deal, those were the principles around the deal. So I go in September and we roll and all of that. This thing is registered with the National Treasury. So all the people that are making this noise, I don't know why they do this, because this was an organization registered with the National Treasury, registered with all authorities, paying tax and all. So what was the problem? I don't know. But be that as it may, around January 2018, then MultiChoice issues a letter to say they're not renewing the contract.
What did you do wrong?
No, I think they didn't say that.
Okay.
Because the audience was growing.
Yeah.
The contract was ending, but there was no reason to stop it. Yeah, I think it was really political, if you ask me. Yeah, then they said no, they want to be
Clear and proper viewership.
It was growing. Yeah, so they said no, they want a proper BE company and all of that. So there at that time it's just me.
So they needed a company. They wanted me. So the score was not proper.
For me, that is a no-brainer. Then I go and get young people. I got some groupings of young people. So I put together the structure that was with the
Meet BE.
Yeah.
Score.
It was quite interesting. I mean, when we were presenting at MultiChoice, I was presenting a live thing that was happening. Some of the examples I would have downloaded from what we're doing there and all of that.
Yeah.
People that I was competing with had briefcase, basically that their PowerPoint presentation of something that's not on the ground. But people like that won. Or just to show that this thing was not, it was just their way of just getting me out cleanly. And by the way, the contract was ending, so they had no legal obligation to carry on. So you can't go to court and argue that no, they didn't renew and all of that. So yeah, so that's how. Now the beauty about this at another level is that this is now January 2018 when they issued this. So I look at this, then I go to the Guptas and say, guys, your forecast has now gone under the water. So you can't be telling me that I owe you 450 million when this thing is not getting renewed. So it means you have to revise everything down to the reality. And although I'm not going to tell you the figure, but
Good to ask.
yeah,
but it's around 1 million or
but the figure was doable within my wallet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I could just take it in my wallet, and even the credit card I could have just settled it.
you can even swipe.
Yeah, I could have just swiped. Honestly, I could have just swiped the number, and that's how I got it. Yeah, this thing. And then I thought, right, then this is now April 2017. Then 2018, I decided to rebrand it to Afro Worldview to try and give it a new look and this and that, and
Knowing that multi-choice is ending the contract, or it's before multi-choice.
knowing that they're ending the contract, so I'm now rebranding.
Remember, they had to renegotiate the terms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Now it's no longer ANN7 from April. It's now Afro
Worldview.
Change the colors and everything.
But it was too colorful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brought in.
There's a lot of color
It
there.
was this red.
Yeah, there was a lot of color there. Yeah.
So I bring in new talent and all of that.
They said you employed models.
Eh?
You know this.
I don't care, but they were good. They were good. They did their job professionals. Yeah, I don't want to penalize them because they're beautiful. Yeah, so they did the job. And the last thing you want as well is to watch a TV with ugly people.
So they had to be there.
Yeah. You want to watch
You wanted to with
you must have a reason to watch it there, even if you are on your own.
So being beautiful is a prerequisite.
It's important. It's very important. Even if you read nonsense, but good.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're going to be in trouble for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. No, but the people are professional.
Yes.
And all of that, and so on. So they were, so yeah. So this thing moved on, and
Before I forget, Mr. Manyi, you said something very, very, very interesting about how the renewal of contract with multi-choice, what was done, and you suspected that there was a political motive. Who do you think was behind that?
look, you see, now that last
Or the
week,
people? Yeah.
last week or 2 weeks ago, in Parliament, there was an unsealing, if you like. Oh, is there those documents that we told, bank statements and stuff from Ramaphosa are sealed? Actually, the truth be told, they were unsealed in the last 2 weeks. Part of the unsealing, you then began to see who were the people that were supporting the Ramaphosa slate. ENCA was there. Now, I sit here. I think all the people, and this is public, I don't care. This is really the truth. That if you have ENCA that was funding the Ramaphosa campaign, what do you think they would have said to Ramaphosa about Afro Worldview? And they've got better networks with Naspers, these people. So I don't know what they would have said to Naspers and all of that. So I think in the commercial space, because also one of the things that they were doing at Afro Worldview is to also stroke ANN7, is also expose the part in government that is characterized as clean, when in fact they are much more messier than the others. I mean, an example, for instance, at National Treasury, we exposed that there was a project there called IFMS. That project had some, 1.8 billion that just went under, nobody knew. But because the right people at National Treasury, even that did not, I even raised it at Zondo. But Zondo also just submerged it because the right people cannot be seen to be corrupt and all of that. So ANN7 was focused on those kinds of things to show the other side and all of that. Now that narrative was counter-mainstream because mainstream had certain people that have to be characterized as corrupt, certain people as clean. So ANN7 Afro Worldview was going to the clean people and saying, actually they're not as clean as you think.
Exposing everyone.
So multi-choice does not renew the contract because of pressure from one ENCA and the backers of Ramaphosa, basically.
I can't say that definitively. I'm just speculating.
It's your understanding.
I can say at the time this was the atmosphere. So I don't want to sit here and accuse.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm just painting the picture to say these were the odds that were stacked.
Okay. Just on the Guptas, I just want to quickly run the things that I think you must not leave here having not addressed.
Yeah.
The Zondo Commission labeled you an enabler of state capture. And you've just made an example of things that they sort of didn't pay attention to. And you've always argued that you went there with evidence, proper stuff, which was not.
Yeah.
Why do you think you were labeled an enabler of state capture, and how did you respond to that? And did you even consider taking the whole thing for review, or you have no faith in that process?
To review by Zondo himself. I think. Yeah. Now, let's go to the basics. In the report, Zondo describes who is an enabler.
Yes.
Now, one of the features to be an enabler, number one, they say you change policy to fit your agenda. That's what you do.
Okay.
Secondly, you coerce your staff to take things in a particular way. Now, Zondo has got nobody in those submissions that went there to say, Manyi coerced me. Zondo does not have any evidence in front of him to say Manyi changed this policy to suit whatever agenda he wanted. But purely because Themba Maseko said the Guptas wanted him to do this, that, and he refused. And therefore, because he refused, he lost his job and all of that. Then they said they were going to get their person or something,
Which became
Manyi. Yeah, purely based on that gossip story. Because it's really
So Themba Maseko's evidence, where you are concerned, is just a gossip.
it's really gossip. Yeah, because he couldn't back up whatever I was saying. It was pure gossip. So based on that gossip, now I tried to explain to him that, sir, this is how things work. If you are a GCIS, you do not actually make the decision to go into with any particular. You don't. The decisions get taken at line departments. A department comes and say, I want Sowetan and I want this. You might have a system at GCIS that tries to be objective, where a system they call TELMA, which tried to say, this is the demographics, these are the psychographics, this is where you should put this kind of advert and whatever. But that's just a recommendation you make to the head of communication or DG of another department.
With you not being involved heavily, yeah.
No, but I'm just saying, you can only make a recommendation. The executive decision gets made by the line department. Okay. If a department, at one time, for instance, I make this example. At what happens, human settlement, they come with an RDP, what to put it, the advert.
Yes.
They want to put it on business day. I said to them, no, why do you want to put it on business day? Put it on Sunday, or something, where that market,
Even Daily Sun.
but they insisted and they got what they wanted because they pay.
You could not override them.
You can't override them. If you are a GCIS DG, you're not a super DG. You can't override. So that I tried to say this to them, that what you are saying is not making sense. Because for you to say what you are saying, not only must we have those people who are saying things about me, but then have where Manyi has even signed to say this must go there. You won't find that because it didn't happen. People that signed for where it should go are the other DGs. But Zondo, because I was not interested in the truth, he was interested in signing off a particular predetermined narrative. And the predetermined narrative was that all those that in some shape or form are associated with the Zuma, associated with Guptas, must be the devils with their horns. So I had to be a devil with their horn, although there was no evidence. This is why.
So categorically, you can say there's no money that was linking you, finding money being transferred to.
No, there isn't. No. If there was, it would have been, banks would have sold me out.
Yeah.
There would have been that evidence on the table. No such a thing. Absolutely no kickback, nothing. That happened there. But I get this label, and to review that would have cost me a couple of millions. Yeah, for nonsense. Yeah, fortunately, this thing called enabler is not defined in the Criminal Act, so there's absolutely nothing anybody can do with that. They'll say,
So there's no charge called enabling.
no, there is no such a thing. So you
Yeah.
can call me an enabler because you hate me. It's fine.
Do you think the Zondo Commission or State of Capture project and all of that, do you think was useful for the country? Is it something now that it's done and dusted, reports, piles and piles, volumes after volumes were produced? Did it in any way help the direction of the country, or did it benefit the country? The billion rand that was spent there or more, was it beneficial to South Africa? Can South Africans look at that and say we've benefited from this project?
Hey, I think it's an interesting question. It's an interesting question, but truth be told, that if the Zondo Commission had the potential to be exactly that, but unfortunately, I think it failed. It failed because it left out. It was not uniform. Number one. Number two, most of what you see, it also got derailed. That thing. You must remember, the reason we have the Zondo Commission is not the corruption thing that they got preoccupied with, which should have been dealt with by the NPA, proper evidence and all. The main reason that that thing was set up was to prove that President Zuma had abdicated his executive authority to the good dance. That was the essence of what that thing needed to prove. It failed to do that because, and it was easy to prove, because all you needed to do to prove that, you needed to have even the ministers that were so-called appointed by the Guptas to say, Minister so-and-so, I was appointed by the Guptas. Now, ministers, all of them had an opportunity, not one. I mean, Balula, for instance, is one of the guys that had the best opportunity to do that if it was true.
He said to have cried.
Because, he was crying. Was told by Trevor Manuel. Then when he gets to the commission, no, he didn't understand me. Then he came up with the big English. And all of this, no, I was appointed by President Zuma. And all of that. So now, if the state capture that Tuli had wanted is the one where you need to prove that Zuma abdicated his executive authority. That when that failed, then they meandered into corruption. The corruption that was exposed is, I support the fact that there's corruption exposed, and I support that people must be prosecuted for corruption. But that could have been done far better with NPA, which, because you see now what we have is people that say you are corrupt, but they just mess up your name. They don't have evidence. So actually you mess up your people's reputation. If anybody thinks you are corrupt, no problem. Just take evidence, produce evidence, and have a person dealt with.
So nobody's ever laid a charge against you for being corrupt, for being a good stooge, as they say.
No.
To ask a direct question, Mr. Manyi, in your own opinion, do you think there was ever a state capture in South Africa, and what would that be like if you were to paint it in English?
I'm on record saying there has never been a time when there was no state capture in South Africa. Even before 1994, into 1994, this state is captured. I mean, even the laws of this country are captured. You know, I can take you economic law by economic law and show you that this thing is captured. First of all, let's understand what is capture. What the concept is supposed to define. It should mean external influence that is puppetizing the state becomes the puppet of external forces. Now I am saying that thing of the state being a puppet of external forces started before 1994, all the way even as we speak. We've got a puppet state, we've got puppet laws. Look at, let's start with the so-called, the best in the world document called the Constitution. I'll point you to one or two sections. If you go to that Constitution, you go to section 25, subsection 7. Section 25 deals with a property clause. Now, subsection 7 deals with the issue of restitution.
Okay.
To say, if your land, if you are dispossessed by apartheid or colonialism, you must be restituted. but there's a date there, which is 19 June 1913 onwards. So basically, you have a constitution that says if your land was taken from 1652 until 19 June 1913, forget about this.
That's not land dispossession.
Now, if that is not state capture, then I don't know what state capture is. So the constitution is there to make it law that black people must be landless. It's legislated in the constitution. The nonsense that is happening now about a little bit of a farm there and one there happens in the space of 7% of the land. The rest of the land is not part of this discourse. And all of so therefore, the land is captured. The land is captured, and the constitution has given a go-ahead for that. You go to the procurement policy. There's a procurement policy in government called the Triple PFA. It's got a very misleading name. It's got a misleading name, Preferential Policy Framework Act, and all of that. Then you think, okay, it's and it's founded. And if you look at that law, it's founded on Section 217 of the Constitution, which deals with procurement. Now, everywhere where Section 217 of the Constitution is quoted, people that quote it stop only on the one subsection. It's got 3 subsections. Subsection 1 is the one that talks about efficiencies, transparent processes, and all of that. Subsection 2 then says nothing in subsection 1 should stop you from preferring people from disadvantage, from protecting. So they must got all kinds of adjectives to define the thing that you should do. Subsection 3 then says you must put together a national legislation to effect subsection 2, to effect the part about helping and preferring and all of that. Then the legislation to do that was now supposedly this Triple PFA. But when we get to Triple PFA, they have something called 90-10, 80-20. So in other words, when they do a point allocation, then Triple PFA says 90% of the points should be given to price, the lowest price. Right. Now let's unpack how business people would price things and what influences the pricing of products. And I always use this example here of a credible African businessman, Tate Maponya. Tate Maponya, you might not know this, he started business at the same time with Raymond Ackerman.
Oh, okay.
They started around the same time in the retail space. But look at where's Raymond Ackerman today. Now, because Raymond Ackerman has got economies of scale. When you say you want to buy baked beans from Raymond Ackerman, he can afford to give it to you at 20 cents. But Tate Maponya, because he's got economies of scale, he has to charge you 35 cents and all of that because his unit costs are very high. Because he doesn't buy in bulk and all that. So that's just the one thing. Economies of scale, you don't have. So therefore, as a black person, you can't compete there. Secondly, we are still suffering from the apartheid spatial development. Red-lined areas in townships are red-lined and all of that. So if you put your address as Soweto or Tembisa or Mtanzane in the application form for finance, that automatically puts you into a high risk. Their premium goes up for you. So in other words, the bank costs for you as an African are higher. When Ackerman is paying prime -2, when I must pay prime +5.
So your overall cost of business will be higher, and therefore you won't be able to lower your prices.
You can't lower your
and
prices.
you want to then benefit. It is qualified.
Yes, and it's a no-brainer. But then we have a law by a democratic government that says no price. So in other words, this is an elegant way to say we don't want black people. We want this business.
So systemically, you're excluded.
Yeah.
I expect.
Yes.
So you say scrap Triple PFA. You say scrap it.
We said we've been now. This is the part about what exactly is this ANC? Because at one point I was in the BMF and we were really supportive. At one point, I established an organization called PPF, Progressive Professionals Forum. The difference between that and the BMF is that the BMF is non-partisan as an organization. But I was tired of being non-partisan. I wanted a pro-ANC organization. So I started PPF to be pro-ANC. I wanted for professionals of the ANC to participate in the conference of the ANC in their own right, so that they can make very clear contributions. Because what would happen is that if you are a professional in the ANC, when you're sitting there, you're unlikely to be a branch chairperson, so you won't be in the delegates. So we sit there in the non-delegate section. Then the guys that are from the branches are the ones in the main plenary that are doing all these things. When I are sitting there with a serious repository of information, but you can't impose a view there and all of that, So I wanted PPF to be able to be this professional body that can help everyone, because then you have data, you've got this, you've got everything, so that the policies are not emotional policies, are policies that are properly informed and all of that. So I thought, and then we then made a submission to say, change the remove the triple PFA. We went there as PPF, went there as BMF, we even went there as Black Business Council. But even today, that does not happen. So then you begin to say, Gandhi, what is this? Then you realize that no, the ANC is controlled elsewhere.
Talk about the ANC being controlled elsewhere. So sorry to continue. Talk about the ANC being controlled elsewhere. You're taking me to my next question, and I just want to understand, do you think, looking at the problems that the country is faced with, unemployment, poverty, and then all sorts of things, load shedding and all of that, and you spend most of your time on Twitter lambasting either Ramaphosa or the ANC, do you think the current direction of the country under the leadership of the ANC through its president Ramaphosa, do you think they are ever going to take South Africa to where every poor person desires, every business person, every person who's struggling? Do you think they are the solution and they're ever going to win? And should South Africa sit there and hope that pronouncements that are made by government are one day going to take them out of their poverty, suffering and struggling?
I think you see, it's easy for me to say, of course not. But I think the easiest way to answer this question is to say, what is it that you can point that says is bringing a solution to the things that you're talking about? Why is it that today you have people that don't have houses, but there doesn't seem to be a clear program of when these houses will be built? Why is it that in 2023, you still have children falling into pit latrine toilets? Why is it that in 2023 in Northwest you have a donkey cart? I mean, MEC proudly announced donkey cart,
launching the program.
How do you do this? Why is it that, I mean, it's really a mess? I think in all objective reasons, the ANC government has failed. And this is not because I belong to another organization. I can give you bullet by bullet. They cannot grow the economy. Even if you look, in fact, this country, I feel pity for the young people and the generations to come, because Ramaphosa and the ANC, they keep digging the South Africa into debt. As we speak right now, the debt service cost of this country, we're sitting at about 300 billion. It's a line item. It's bigger than social, the housing is bigger. It's just to service debt. I mean, you look at the country debt as a percentage of GDP. We're sitting at the 70s. So in other words, the equity of this country is so small, it's like 20-30%. The rest of this country is owed to international people and all of that. So one of these days, we're going to have these creditors that are going to say, we want to take Dinero for nothing because you owe us. We want to take Transnet for nothing because you owe us. We want to take this piece of land because...
So the country could be declared insolvent, and somebody else could come and run the country.
Very far from that. We're not very far from that. So I'm saying that question might sound political, but just deal with it economically.
Yes.
And the objective, and say the amount of load shedding we've had to date is higher than ever that we've ever had. So it's really a mess. The unemployment is hitting the roof. Important inequality. I mean, it must be a shame to say today the inequality is worse than before 1990. So apartheid, with all the nonsense they had, the
Inequality during apartheid was not this way.
we have overtaken apartheid inequality in this era.
So the atrocities committed by the democratically elected government are becoming far worse than those of the apartheid government.
Yeah, you know, if you go to some of the very insulting water speeches about a crocodile is not the same as a lizard, but that I think 1985 speech and all that nonsense was talking then. But when you look at the detail in terms of what he says would happen if these Africans take over, I'm ashamed to say the level of error there was probably 5%.
Yeah. So in essence, Mr. Manyi, you agree with Charles, I remember now recently, Uvusi.
Yes, Mr. Mbekwe.
He was lambasted for having compared apartheid South Africa to now and say he was better.
And I think that there are aspects of the apartheid era which were better.
So are you in the same light?
Are you going to be as...
No, what I'm saying is that we accept, firstly, to compare anybody with apartheid is an insult.
Yes.
Then, you know what, my first disappointment in the new South Africa, my first disappointment, I lived in Soweto in a Meshbok forum, which I thought was small because we're a family of 6.
Yes.
My sleeping place was under the table in the kitchen.
Oh, okay.
That's where up until matric, I was sleeping in the kitchen under the table and all of that. So when new government took over, I then thought, wow, now we're going to have houses like in my kitchen, you know.
So you expect that to be
You expect a decent life,
Yeah, I thought we were going to have big houses and all of that. And then one donkeys.
the rollout of RTP.
What nonsense is this now? And then they take a toilet, they put it there, and then you have these houses. But these guys, what's wrong with them? What is this nonsense that they're building now? So basically, the RDP house, Imi Kuku in bricks. In fact, I blame RDP houses for the early sexualization of children, of young children. Because now you have this very small house, you've got adults separated by a curtain doing their business this side, some teenagers on this side.
My man.
They are, they are not far from this experience on this side, and they go and experiment, and then you end up with a 13-year-old that is pregnant. It's because he's sitting at home.
So there's no decency in the RDP project.
No, it's a serious indecent approach.
No human dignity.
There's no human
And you expected better from democratic government.
Yeah. This is the...
Let me ask this, Mr. Manyi, about to conclude this, because I know some of your people who on Twitter who really argue with you, they'll ask this question and I'll ask this way. To say you're in government and they'll say probably it's easy for you to sit on the chair and lambast the
And be an arm critic now.
having been in government. How do you respond to that? They say you had your chance to transform.
A chance to do what? You know, this is the thing. Firstly, let me explain this that I normally explain on Twitter. Let's first of all start with how long did I stay in government? 3 years. Contrary to popular belief, as if I was born there in government. 3 years.
So you're never raised in government.
Yeah. So I started in 2009, 1st of September. I left 25 August 2012.
I thought it was 3 years as well.
Yeah. So 3 years. That's all I had time I had. In that time, I was not holding an executive position. I was not a politician, not a minister, not an MEC, not any of those things. But I was just an employee.
Public servant.
I was a public servant, just like anybody earning a salary. I was a DG of labor at one point, and I can tell you what I did in the labor space, in the DG space. As a DG of labor, there's nothing you can do with housing. There's nothing you can do with sanitation. There's nothing you can do with
Your
water.
role was limited.
My role was focused on being a DG of labor. If you say, Manyi, in your time, you did not do anything on a labor law, then you are talking. Right. Then from there, I split that 3 years between labor and being a spokesperson for cabinet. Now again, I'm DG again there for GCIS. So what is my role? 2 things. One is to be the cabinet spokesperson, where I just articulate this is what cabinet has said, this is what cabinet has said. On the other hand is to run the machinery of a GCIS, a communication. So how do I go and fix roads sitting in those kinds of positions? So this thing is actually a very nonsensical.
So you are unfairly blamed.
I'm really unfairly blamed.
Yeah.
It's almost like I was the prime minister.
Yes, of this country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, even if I was not the prime minister,
Yeah.
if I was any minister sitting in cabinet, I'm able to influence my colleagues in cabinet. You can only make this kind of a thing to a person that was a politician, not to an employee
Of
who-
government.
Of government.
Who communicates decisions.
Who communicate decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who takes instructions
Yes,
and all of that. Yeah.
And the mouthpiece is
I promise this is my last question. And
I have one last question, Charles, then we're done. Yes,
last question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In probably 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Your complicated relationship, you left the ANC, you joined the ATM, but you still you are also a spokesperson of the Jacob Zuma Foundation. How do you explain that?
Whose patron is a member of a political party and he goes out and campaign for that? That was my question. So yeah.
Relationship. How do you explain that relationship?
It's very, very simple and straightforward. Firstly, the foundation is not a branch of the ANC.
Okay.
Okay, it's a foundation of His Excellency President Zuma that helps people across the political spectrum. If you're a young person, when it was still funded, now it's not funded, it just got no money. When it was still fully operational, that foundation never asked you which political organization do you support. For all I know, there would have been IFP people that have been supported by that foundation. It's
beneficiaries.
It's a non-political structure that that foundation it assists all the young people and all of that. So the fact that its patron is ANC, it's neither here nor there, because the foundation it's non-partisan in its work. So I'm assisting a non-partisan foundation and all of that, and also I don't dabble into President Zuma's ANC politics. You'll never hear me saying anything.
So I can tell you about the ATM, ANC.
Yeah.
You don't say no.
Yes. And we're head of police, by the way.
Yeah.
So you don't ask him as a father, hey, no, I'm going to
His ANC things are not involved, are not part of my brief, but his issues in government. The government is not is non-partisan. Supposed to be. The government is non-partisan. So all the things get blamed. And by the way, I know it was a final question. I said to President Zuma, if he had consulted me about writing this book, I would have advised him not to write this book.
So you're not involved in the book?
No, I'm not involved.
Oh, okay.
Now, the book by President Zuma is a book to respond to the so-called 9 wasted years. I said to him, no, President Zuma, I don't think you understood the accusation. The 9 wasted years does not mean that you did nothing, because as you can see in the book, there's ample evidence. You built 2 universities, you dropped it, a lot of things that you did to, you dropped the HIV, that's all of that, many things.
Build roads, bridges, highways and highways.
I mean, the spaghettis of highways were done by President Zuma and all of that. So there's no question about President Zuma's delivery record. But I think he misunderstood what was the 9 wasted years. Like most people here misunderstand the 9 wasted years. The 9 wasted years actually means it's a 9 wasted years by those that wanted to loot and they were not able to. President Zuma had blocked them. Now look what happened. Immediately, look at the COVID. How can you blow 500 billion in 3 months? That just shows how much time President Zuma wasted for them. So actually, this 9 wasted years, it's an opportunity lost by those that are looting today. That's what it is.
Class, I think Class is clear. There's a lot that we can deal with, and I think he must come back in class. There's just a lot that we can address. It's elections next year, and he's just explained the state and the situation that we find us. I just want one last question, short answer. Part note. What do you tell voting South Africans to do in 2024?
They must be selfish. Voters must be selfish and look after their own interests and say the parties that are out there, which one is addressing my interest as a voter and vote accordingly. That's what it is. That's really what should happen.
Mr. Manyi, thank you very much, man.
But also just look out. I'm putting together, I think, a 2,000 words piece.
Wow.
That's going to deal with the ANC and colonialism and its role.
Wow, okay. Colonialism,
Yeah.
that far.
Yeah.
okay.
So look out.
No, wait.
When should we expect?
I'm publishing this coming Friday. It's gonna come out.
Oh, okay. No, perfect. Beginning, sigqibile mhlekazi. Sigqibile mhlekazi.